How many 10th standard students here? Are you all in a dilemma which stream to take? Science, commerce? Yes? Are you in a dilemma? How many 11th standard students? Che, yenda na idu eduthen. Do you have that thought in you? Yes? 12th standard students. Irangitom. We have to come up, right? Is that how you are in? And have you all decided which career to choose? As in which path? Some are very clear. I can see nice, head shakes and all that. But trust me, when I was in school and in college, and even now, sometimes, I have this dilemma. What to do? What am I doing? Am I even doing something worthy? To clear, there's no clarity, right? To clear all that, we have an expert speaker, but you should know who he is, right? To introduce him, I welcome Mrs. Anandi, Headmistress, Shri SURENDRA KULKARNI Vidya Mandir Higher Secondary School.
Thank you, Shruti. It's a great honor for me to introduce the first speaker of this beautiful morning, retired Lieutenant General Surendra Kulkarni. Lieutenant General Surendra Kulkarni has served in the Indian Army for about 4 decades. He was commissioned into the Armored Corps in 1975. In recognition of his special contribution, he has been awarded a Vishisht Seva Medal twice, an Adi Vishishta Seva Medal, and the highest peacetime distinguished service award in the armed forces, the Param Vishisht Seva Medal by the President of India. Parallel to his army career, he has pursued his academic interests. He is an economics graduate from Ferguson College, Pune. He was a postgraduate UGC Merit Scholar before he joined the army. He has 4 master's degrees, including an MPhil degree. He has been a student and instructor at the Defence Services Staff College, Wellington in the Nilgiris. He is an alumnus of Mayo College, Ajmer. Presently, he is the director of the same college since January 2015. It's our pleasure having such an eminent personality among us this morning. Welcome, sir.
I now request retired Lieutenant General Shri SURENDRA KULKARNI, sir, to kindly come on to the stage, and Mrs. Shalini Nair, Principal Kikani Global Academy, to kindly present our speaker with a bouquet and welcome him. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Shruti, for that very generous welcome, and to the principal before you who read out my bio. Thank God it was brief, because if you have been serving for more than 4.5 decades, this can take up the entire time of the talk. So I'm extremely grateful, but let me start with a local greeting. Vanakkam to all of you. Right, wrong? It's also the very happy occasion for the return of Lord Mahabali. On the occasion of Onam, I convey my greetings to you and from my family, and you will wonder, what do I have to do with Kerala? Well, my daughter is married to a Malayali boy, a Nair boy. So for us, every year, with my son-in-law's family or my Samdi's family, we look forward to the Onam Sadhya, which is a fantastic meal every year. So, and as you heard in my introduction, I have been transiting through Coimbatore very often to hit to the Nilgiris. But this is the first time I've really stayed overnight. And I wish to thank Tusharji and all the others who have gone out of the way to extend such a warm and hospitable welcome to me. I have come from very far. I have come from Ajmer, which is in the heart of Rajasthan, between Jaipur and Jodhpur. And I must give a little background. In April this year, I was in Hyderabad to speak at another event, and I met Tusharji there, and he said, He was very generous and said, please come and visit us in Coimbatore. It was mentioned today that the feeling is of Atiti Deva Bhava. Well, you can only have Atiti Deva Bhava if you have a willing Atiti. So I promptly accepted his invitation, and here I am 5 months later. You also heard that I'm a former student of what is called Mayo College, but actually a school. It's a bit of a misnomer. It's a fully residential school, but it was started by the British nearly 150 years ago in 1875. And that time there used to be a school section and a college section. But after independence, as you're aware, the government and the parliament had decided that school and higher education will be separate. Even in Delhi, in the Ministry of Education, there's a separate secretary to government who looks after school education and separate for higher education. So because of that, our name has been retained because that's our brand. And well, actually, we are just a fully residential school. I'll give you a little glimpse of my school after this, but allow me to first pay my regards to those who have been kind enough to invite me. Tusharji, of course, Chandrakant Patelji, Prakashji, Pradeep Kikaniji, Shri Paliniappan, who I believe is going to follow me, thank God. Because if a social media expert comes before anybody else, no one else has a chance in today's time. The principals of the schools, Miss Lata, Miss Geeta, Miss Anandi, and Shalini ma'am, whom I have known virtually before this while she was in the school in Munnar. And now, of course, I had the pleasure of meeting her today. But above all, my greetings to a smaller extent to the teachers, but to a larger extent to the students. Because people like me and your teachers have already fired the main ammunition from our lives. You are the people who've got your powder dry and you've got to be ready, and you are living in very amazing times, very exciting times, and the sky is the limit. You are asked, what stream have you taken? You were told, I will tell you what careers you will be, options you have. And you will be seriously disappointed because I will not talk about any career. But I will point out to you the trends which will help you to shape your careers. And as you can see me, I'm an example myself, 40 years in the army, now in education. In my era, changing careers was not normal. In your era, it'll be a day-to-day matter. And if you have to switch careers successfully, it is only possible if you're ready with the tools that make you adaptable, flexible, and capable of making switches as per the changing times. So, without further ado, once again, Tusharji, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm deeply honored. I saw the people who spoke to you yesterday. It's very, very humbling after that. So let me not set your expectations too high. But we always believe in every event and every music concert you must have seen, it ends on a crescendo. So for what I will be failing to achieve, I think Mr. Palyanappan will make up for me. So let me first give you a little background about my school. As I said, we are a fully residential school in a very vast campus. When I was there was one school, now we have 3. We also have a fully residential girls' school and a day school for the local students. It's my open invitation to all of you, not only to you, Tusharji, but if your students come on any excursions or trips up North India, it'll be a pleasure to host them and take care of them while they're in Ajmer. Ajmer is otherwise quite famous for the Dargah of Moinuddin Chishti, a very famous Sufi saint, and of course Pushkar, the place where is the sole temple dedicated to Lord Brahma, the creator of our universe. So, may I just get some young kids to give me some high-tech expert? The idea of showing this video to you was twofold. One was, of course, to give you glimpses of our school and hopefully entice you into coming on a visit. But more importantly, to highlight that in a child's life, schooling is only a small facet, and there is much more to education. There are co-curricular activities, there are sports, there are character building, and all of these put together is what makes a child a complete person. We do have many eminent alumni from our school, but more than that, I always tell my students, it is more important that you make an impact in life. Do you touch the life of other people? And here you are sitting in the auditorium of a very fine institution like this, which was Tusharji was telling me, started by his grandfather. See the vision of the man for the Gujarati society to think of setting up educational institutions when it was not such a common feature. Today, so many years down the road, see how many lives have been impacted. And my appeal to all you children, whatever career you pick up in the future, and we'll talk about some of these if you ask questions, but it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what post you hold. What matters is, do you make an impact in society, and a positive impact at that. So with that as a backdrop, we have a saying that when our children leave from our place, what they gave an exam for was called schooling. What they learned rest of the time was education. And since we are lucky, our students are with us 24/7, we have this big advantage that we are not time bound, we are not bound by the buses schedule and various other events, and therefore we compensate the children by giving longer holidays so that they can spend time with their family, because growing up with their family is very, very important for the long-term character and moral fiber that you build up. No school can make up for your family. So, as I often tell my parents, this property is yours. You have only given me a power of attorney to manage them while they're with us. But when you have a power of attorney, you have to exercise it wisely, sensibly, and for the good of the child. And I hope we are doing the right things. So now getting on to a presentation. Okay, so that's me. Thanks to the kind weather in Coimbatore, or Kauai as I'd heard of it when I was a child. The coat is off, the rest of it is still the same guy. Now it's very important to understand what are the key elements of the school of the future. And remember, you all children, you are very lucky. You are sitting in one of the schools of the future. You have to have a global outlook. The days of staying in your narrow local confines are long over, and you are aware of it. I think people from Tamil Nadu are famous not only all over India, but all over the world for their contribution in God knows how many fields. And this is only possible if you have a global outlook. You've got to be interdisciplinary. You cannot have vertical silos. For example, you cannot think in chemistry that this is my theory and this is my practical. This I will do in the class and this I will do in the lab. Or this is water. So you can't say it's only physics. It can be mathematics, it can be chemistry, it can be geography. Water can be part of history as well. Many people have gone to war for it. So you've got to be able to think around the whole gamut that is involved in a concept. And my appeal to the teachers is, I'm sure you're doing this. If not, the more of this you do, the better delivery you will give for your children. Experiential, as you saw, our kids, somebody is doing woodwork, somebody is doing 3D printing. You've got to also get out into the fields, do organic farming, tend to animals. All this is important. A merely theoretical learning will not do you any good. You can get into some IIT. You will also get a job to begin with, but then you will find that your employer will be complaining. And many industrialists complain today. The top of the best graduates come without the skills to actually work in the real world. You children have this advantage. You can start right from now and make sure that you do hands-on thing. And as I often tell, parents ask me, how should this start? I tell them very simple. When the child gets up in the morning, make the child make his own bed, his or her own bed. If you start with doing that, it's a jolly good start to life. And the other advantage is, unless you have somebody tending to you, when you come back at night and you're tired, you still go back to sleep in a nicely made bed. And remember, you children will be global citizens. When you go out, your retinue of your servants will not follow you. You will have to manage everything yourself, which including life skills like cooking and every other thing that you can think of. Now is the time to do it. Don't wait. You cannot become 18, go to college and then realize, oops, I wish I had learned this earlier. Diversity inclusive. It is very easy to be divisive, but understand that none of us is fully complete in every way. All of us need to be included in some form or the other. And therefore, if you are sensitive, compassionate towards others, you will try and make them feel part of the mainstream. There used to be a time when they said, okay, special children need to have independent, separate classes. That time is gone, because then you are permanently excluding them from society forever. Unless you bring them in the mainstream, how will they ever do it? And today, let me tell you, there are many jobs which even autistic children can do better than us, because they are very focused, and repetitive jobs they are excellent at. So therefore, there is nobody with any kind of special abilities who does not have value in society. And we must learn to respect each other and look for opportunities. Talking of that, you will have elders who were once very hale, hearty, fit, and now need help. You need to make them feel included. And remember, with every passing generation, the size of the family is shrinking. And therefore, let's say a couple may have 4 elderly people to look after. And it's your duty, children, to always remember this. The highest blessings in life you will get is if you look after an aged, elderly person in your family. Nothing better than that. So, inclusiveness is a very wide subject, and it must include everything. It has to be an integral part of the schools of the future. Finally, ethics and justice oriented. There's too much of a temptation to take shortcuts. And remember, all of us know in our heart of hearts, when we have to take a decision, we know whether it's ethical or not. If you're jumping a red light at a traffic intersection, you know if you're doing it or not. Nobody has to come and tell you or read the law, or you don't have to be given a ticket by the policeman. If you're entering, say, the prayer room in your house and you're wearing shoes, no one has to tell you or put a notice, please remove shoes before entering prayer room. You know what you have to do. So I never tell my students what is right and wrong. I always tell them, you decide what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. And every child deep down in his heart knows the answer. So please follow an ethical path. In the short run, sometimes you will not get success. You may even face setbacks. But in the long run, I can assure you, now I have many years behind me, it always pays in the end. And you will stand with your head high, you will be proud of what you have done, your children will be proud of your legacy. So how do you measure the success of a future-ready school? Happy students are given a chance to explore, discover, and then understand. And remember, E, D, and U are underlined. These are the first three letters of the word education. If you can explore, discover, and understand, instead of somebody telling you, this is the way, cram it, and you'll get marks in the exam, your exams are just a passing phase. I'm sure today nobody asks those 4 principals sitting here how many marks they got in grade 12. Nobody asks them. Right? So your measure of success is how deeply you get to understand things. And once you understand things, you will be able to create knowledge, you will be able to add to the knowledge in the world, you will be able to do things which are not possible today. And we are wanting to talk about the future today, which, as I said, I will get to it, but I will not give you a list of future jobs because you can see it on the internet in 30 seconds. Parents, and I'm sure those who are teachers here are also parents, some of them. There's a tendency, and especially the pandemic made it worse, for parents to be very enraged and behave as if They are spending money on their child, therefore there must be return on investment. Please remember, your child is not a head of expenditure. It's a head of investment. And a blue chip company at that. So your blue chip returns will come after many, many years. So don't look for instant results. Invest in them and you will see outcomes will come. This for you is the core of my subject, adaptable students. You've got to be adaptable to curriculum, you've got to be adaptable to cultures all over the world, and therefore adaptable to careers that may arrive one day and vanish tomorrow. The best known companies have all vanished, which were famous 150 years ago or even 100 years ago. Some of the best companies have vanished. Long time back, your kids are too young. There used to be an airline called Pan Am, much coveted to fly by. It doesn't exist. Kodak Eastman doesn't exist. Made the best films. And I can give you a long, long list of this. So please remember, if you do not rejuvenate yourself, if you don't become relevant, you'll be history. Teacher, you got to make your modules personalized for each student. I know your challenge. Your challenge is that the exam has the same exam for everyone. And therefore, it is an important thing that they get good marks to get good admission. But at the same time, at the same time, please remember, that's not adding to the learning. That's only adding to the chance of getting admission in college. So at the level at which the child is learning, you've got to personalize this as per the level of the child, the learning style of the child, and equally the company that the child keeps. Because we all know that you got to work in a team, you got to collaborate tomorrow. No individual can alone do anything in such a complex world that we live in. So please, teachers, keep this in mind. Segregate the learning part from the exam part. And if you do both, of course, that'll be the best you can do for your students. Alumni, and your institution has great alumni, they must be mentors and coaches. And when alumni come to address your students, my appeal to them will be, which I'm sure they do, as an alumni of my own school, I tell my colleagues who come back, I said, come and tell children 3 things. 1, what a great thing you have done in your life, which is being read out in your bio, don't worry. But you say it in the end. First, tell them what 2 or 3 big lessons you took from school, which remained with you for a lifetime. Second, tell them all the struggles and hardships you faced, all the setbacks you faced, because none of you reached the pinnacle of your success overnight. None of you had a smooth run. Because today's children very often think that success is granted to them. And I'm sorry to say, in many institutions, in order to encourage children, we give credit too easily. It is not something to be parceled out, it is to be earned. And we have to make children understand the value of this, and children have to understand this. And nobody can convey this better, not teachers, not parents, than alumni can. So the student of the future should ask you, I wonder what it is, or what it means, and not tell me what it means. For too long, when I was a student, we had this culture of tell me what it means. We were lucky we had some teachers who followed the first part. He says, what do you think it is? But most of the teachers in that era said, look, this is what it is, seekh lo, exam mein kaam aayega. I'm sure you understand this much Hindi. Am I right, all of you? All of you watch Bollywood movies and all? So you know my little bit of Hindi, you know. Richard Feynman was a Nobel laureate, and a very fine thing he said. He said, teachers who ask the right questions are useful, not the ones who give the right answers. And this is, again, a big challenge. It's a huge shift happening in society, and teachers and students who work together in this will be ready for futuristic careers. Now there is a theme. During the pandemic, there was a very famous poem called, that we are a part of the same storm, but we are in different boats. Unfortunately, that has become like an axiom. Wherever I go in educational conferences, I hear this. No, but we are in different boats. The storm is the same, which is pandemic. No, please understand. There are different storms facing different people and who are also in different boats. And I'll briefly touch on this. Because in these different storms lie the potential of future careers, future opportunities, whether as a career or as an entrepreneur, both. So what are these challenges for our students? I think many of you may have heard this. If not, it's a phrase coined nearly now 50 years ago, saying that the world is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, called VUCA. Now, in this, it's like in mathematics. It's not a linear equation. It's got so many variables. You can imagine how complicated it will get. And yet, you students have to navigate through this world. There is no escaping it. The world that you are taught in school, where you're in a closed place, safely being looked after by your parents, looked after by your teachers very nicely, looks quite different from the world of this. This is the real world children are facing in the world today. There is strife, there is violence, there is poverty, and children in most parts of the world are not being allowed to have a nice, carefree early years while they grow up. But in this, in attending to these problems, in mitigating these problems, in solving these problems, lies some great opportunities for you for the future. So in biblical times, and I think many of you would have heard of Noah's Ark. Any students, raise your hands if you ever heard of Noah's Ark. Oh, I see at the back. Well, I'm glad. The backbenchers are raising their hands. Excellent. I feel one amongst you. So in Noah's Ark, there was all these people, one of each species was collected into the ark and saved, and they are the ones after whom we've all been on this earth. But they were facing the same storm, and they were all in the same boat. As I said, in the pandemic, things changed. And there was a famous poem by Damien Barr which said, "We are not all in the same boat. We are all in the same storm. Some are on super yachts and some just have one oar." Unfortunately, this has become like an axiomatic thing. Easiest way to say that, oh, we are in different boats. But if you are in different boats also, the solutions, the opportunities vary. And you can not only solve the problem for your own boat, you can also solve it for other people's boats. And thereby, as I said, grabbing a chance of a career or an entrepreneurship. But the future may also have different storms. And I'll give you examples of a few. For those people who live on the coastline or are island nations, there is a storm of survival. This is a picture of in Maldives, the cabinet holding a meeting underwater to highlight their plight. If water levels rise due to global warming, we will be off completely. This is their challenge. They are not worried about other things. Their first worry is this: will we survive? So if you are not even surviving, like if you go in a plane, the air hostess will tell you, you first put the mask on yourself and then put it on others. Because if you don't save yourself, how will you save anyone else? So this is their challenge. There's an opportunity gap. Everyone doesn't have the same opportunities. You children are blessed. You are studying in excellent schools. There are many who don't get a chance to go to school. There are some who have to study on the roadside. Some have to study under a night street light. And in war-torn places, no school at all. There's a storm of thought diversity. This is a more dangerous storm which is picking up now, where you have one narrative and there is an opposing narrative. And either you are with us or against us. Whereas as students, we would like you to understand the perspectives on all sides. Then in your own wisdom, make up your mind which narrative you would like to follow. So beware of this, and especially in the social media times, this is a big issue, and I'm sure this will be addressed in the next talk. There's a storm of relevance. What are we studying for? Are we studying for the right things? Is it going to be of any value for us in the future? For many of us here who are adults, a lot of what we studied when we were in school has not really been used by us functionally in our real lives. So there is a need for education to become relevant. And as I said, whether it is making your bed, whether it's doing everything from doing woodwork, changing a light, learning how to cook your own food, whatever it is, you have to be relevant to the times at hand. Then today we are faced with the real world and the virtual world. And it is very difficult today, and I have no answers. What is the correct blend for this? All of you play video games, those of you who are in the metaverse, all know what I'm talking about. But how much of this is where you should be going, and how much of the real world where you should be actually interacting and dealing with people? Because people will not vanish, and therefore people skills are also needed. And I'm sure the educationists here will understand that after 2 years of off and on lockdowns, it has impacted the children's ability to handle social skills. They have been living more and more in the virtual world, and that right balance, as I said, I don't know the answer, but I want to leave you children with a thought. As you grow up, as you go ahead, try and work out the good balance between operating in the real world and operating in the virtual world. All the video games you play are actually living in the virtual world. But are they always useful for you in life? Should they be seen only as entertainment? Or should they be seen as a means of solving problems? For example, in the virtual world, you can do surgeries from remote areas. Top specialists in the world, they can guide you by automating the procedure and then telling your local doctor what to do. And see the change, the pace of change. These are two photographs of the inauguration of the president in USA when President Obama became president for the first time in 2009 and then in 2013. Please see in 4 years what changed. First, people were looking at each other. In the second one, no one's looking at each other, they're all looking at their devices. Just within a gap of 4 years. It's a representative picture, but this is the reality of what happened. So please understand what challenges you all are facing and be ready to deal with them. So the biggest question that comes is, should we focus on the boat or the storm? Now, sometimes the storm, like the virtual world, can be man-made. Or sometimes it can be nature-made, like the pandemic, or somebody may even say it is man-made, the virus. But where do we focus? So the advantage you children have today is, you can focus on the boats also, you can focus on the storms also. You can be the one who can solve the problem of global pandemics, global viruses, by coming up with some, let's say, universal antibiotic or whatever you call it, or an anticipatory injection or a capsule, which if you have it, then you will not get any of this. I don't know. The world is absolutely open before you. But if you don't think of these problems, you'll never solve them. And that you can also solve small problems. You might find, my son lives in Bangalore. Luckily, his side was not flooded. But he was telling me stories of some other friends whose, even their houses have gone underwater. And you might have seen on TV people actually moving in boats in Bangalore. It's a ridiculous thing. So there's a joke going around that in a place like Bangalore, it takes 10 hours to get to work to make an app for the world in which you get groceries delivered in 10 minutes. So you see the irony of it. Sometimes we don't use our minds and capacities for having a positive impact on us. And why has this happened in Bangalore? I'm sure all of you understand. Always in these older times and cities, there used to be places to drain the water from, say, one lake to another lake or into some sea or wherever. And then you find that there are places available to construct things. And you start constructing, and the channel gets narrower and narrower and narrower. And it forms like a venturi. And then suddenly when a large number of water comes unexpectedly, it has to gush over and spill. And some very poor people, I won't say poor, but even well-to-do people, their lifetime earnings and savings have got wiped out in one day. So therefore, please understand habitability, sustainability. There are so many areas in which you children can make a difference. So let's look, what are the emerging trends which will give you pointers towards futuristic careers. As I said, I'm not going to do a listing. You just Google, you'll find it in 5 seconds. Faster maybe. First, you got to instill humanism. You saw that picture of that Obama thing, everybody looking at their devices. You have to have a sense of feeling for other people. If you don't have a sense of feeling for the other people, then you will never do good in society. That is why today, if you see, you have these things like trolling and other things, because it is impersonal. You don't even know whom you're trolling, you don't even know that person, but on social media you let fly something. I hope I'm not preempting some things that you want to say, sir, but you'll agree that this can be a serious form of violence indirectly. India as a country, and Indira Gandhi once said that India lives in 6 centuries. India will coexist from the first stage of evolution of society 1.0, which are hunter-gatherers, tribals and all will still be there. Then gradually they will move into agrarian society, industrial society, information society. But now we are moving towards a thing called Society 5.0. And what is the concept of Society 5.0? Would any student like to raise their hand and tell me if they've heard of this Society 5.0? You don't know or you don't want to say you know? There are always both kinds of students who know but won't raise their hands. Okay, will somebody take a guess? What do you lose if you take a guess? Yeah, please, somebody raise their hand. Excellent, I'm very proud of you. Come, son. And now if a boy has got up now, come on girls, you can't let this happen. The girls are the future of our nation. So if a boy has asked a question, girls, I'm expecting something after this. Yeah, come. Just say it loudly, please, no problem. Can someone pass on this message?
Hello.
Okay, development of artificial intelligence, all right, that's a good guess, very good guess. Let's see if somebody get a sharper answer from anybody else. Come, girls, anyone? Raise your hands or stand up or ask for the mic, anyone? Yeah, please. Come on, you're from the land of Amma.
Automation. Automation.
Automation, okay, automation, artificial intelligence, two good guesses, yes. One last thing, because then I'll move on with my next item. One more.
Integration of cyberspace and human beings.
Cyber-
Cyborgs.
Okay, cyber ops, okay. Right? Okay, I saw two hands there, so one I'll give one more chance, please.
Human-centered society.
Human-centered society. Okay, great. Have you read this or you cooked it up?
I read.
When?
My teacher taught us.
Excellent. You've got a great teacher, but better than that, you've got a good student who remembers what the teacher taught. It doesn't happen very often. So the idea is of Society 5.0, when you've gone past the information age, is to utilize what they call the Internet of Things. Use technology to solve human problems, and so that you land up with a human-centered society. We have a lot of pollution, you have a lot of waste, the oceans are polluted and all that. Has this not happened because of some things which cannot be disposed of and is now going in for waste? Yes or no? But those things that were made were found to be useful at that time. But nobody thought through what may happen. What will be the effect on society? And therefore today, a large part of the blame goes to my generation and people a little younger than me for creating the mess that you people are facing. So you have two things to do. One, clean up the mess we created, and two, not allow it to happen in future. So therefore, thank you very much. Whoever answered that, which school are you from? Let your principal come to know that you said it. Your name and your school, please. Excellent.
I am Bhavarlal from Kekane Vidya Mandir CBSE.
Okay, where's the principal? Give yourself a high. And compliment the teacher whenever you see her. Okay, there is a saying called SaaS, that is software as a service. Now, software as a service was what brought about the information age. What is going to now change is what I've written as DaaS, that is data as a service. Today, every piece of data is a product in itself. You and I are actually a product of multiple data. Have you seen how many companies are trying to gather our data? And the reason for this is this can be made into a product that can be monetized. So there is business in this. So you may have read some jokes. If you go and ask in some shop for something, they'll say, no sir, sorry, your credit card is not valid. 3 times you have defaulted. And why are you buying this brand of soap? Actually, you have been always buying so-and-so brand of soap. Or if you go on social media and search for something, next thing you'll get a prompt. Would you like to also buy this? Am I right? If you're watching something in Netflix or something, they will say, these are movies suggested for you or shows suggested for you. Data itself has become a service. And if we understand that how far data can take us, then you'll be amazed as to what you can do around it. It can also be put for excellent good purposes. It can be used to monitor your grandmother's health when she's far off. Because you have sensors and you'll come to know, okay, how much her heart is beating, what's her pulse rate, how's everything normal, is a fracture healing, whatever. So data will be the new service. And if you master this, so much for you. Artificial intelligence, somebody mentioned. I mentioned Brahma and the Brahma temple in Pushkar. How many of you heard of the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh? Okay. So which of these Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh is Shiva? Mahesh. So Brahma is famous for being the creator. And what is Mahesh or Shiva famous for? For the destroyer. Okay. So in AI we have to see, is it a case of Brahma or Shiva? Will it actually, a lot of people say this will result in a lot of jobs vanishing. But will it also create jobs? And the reality is, there are studies to show that the number of jobs lost will be less than the number of jobs created by AI. And therefore, you have to decide on which side of the coin you are. Are you on the Brahma side of AI or on the Shiva side of AI? And these are professional research institutions who give this data. You and I don't have to think of it. How many of you know of this concept called DEI? And I mentioned it about schools of the future in passing. Anyone? It's a concept that needs to be taught in all schools. Yes, yes, sir. Who's this? Young girl? Yeah, please. Yeah. What is DEI? Louder, please.
Sir, it tells about equality and equity.
Okay, fine. You're on the right lines. Please sit. So DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think I'd made a mention of it in a different way earlier. But this is the professional concept called DEI. Okay, and therefore, which is the way towards inclusion? You got to drive the equity towards inclusion. And inclusion does not mean integration. You see there are 3 charts. I don't know if they can be seen from far. On the left is exclusion, those bubbles that you see. Second one is integration, where you include them in a manner that they are with you, but they are separate. And inclusion is where you cannot make out where they are merged into you. And as I mentioned earlier, that is the way forward. All those, as the famous one book said, children of a lesser God, they all need to be brought into our mainstream. We owe this to society as responsible citizens. Jobs. In India, agriculture is the mainstay. In many other countries, infrastructure is the mainstay. In some places, services is the mainstay. Our IT industry has moved into services in a big way. But you have to understand, children, today 40% people work in agriculture. Do we need 40% people to produce the amount of food India needs? If you use smarter methods of farming, smarter methods of connecting the farmer to the mandi or the place from where he can sell his goods, if you can connect him directly to the consumer, even better. So therefore, we have to decide what is the balance. But there is opportunities for careers in all 3. In agriculture, to make it smarter. Infrastructure, you keep hearing now about Atma Nirbharta and all that. because that is the key. And you have seen many of the roads and highways that are coming up. Yesterday, while coming from the airport, I saw these pillars are up to make a elevated road straight from the airport into town. You see the impact it will make on the pace of traffic in Coimbatore someday. So therefore, there is scope in all these fields. So don't think that, okay, now because AI has come or technology has come, all these traditional things are no use. They are very much use. You need a physical infrastructure and you need a digital infrastructure, both. This is the Google has opened a new AI campus. Does this look like to you anything like AI or like any industrial shed? What does it look like? Just like any other industrial shed, right? It is the work that is done there that gives you the AI, not some fancy Sky Wars type looking set. And the challenges are what? Efficient batteries, better fertilizers, developing medicines. These are again challenges that are throwing up potential careers. These are the kind of people Google wants to hire, not just programming software writers. I mentioned a lot about AI and data. Essentially, to do AI, you need lots of data. Okay? And to generate the data, you need to be able to capture it and analyze it. And therefore, AI is intended to crunch all this heavy data that you generate. That, again, is an area where there is unlimited scope for growth. Privacy. Today, you will agree there is not much privacy, as I mentioned. All these people can tell you what are your preferences. Why are you buying sari? Normally, you go to Nalli's, things like that. So this time you are buying, so-and-so sari, but for your mother, she normally prefers, if you're buying for her, give her a pochampalli or something like that. This is happening. It's not some future thing I'm telling you. It's happening today. And therefore, privacy is being stolen in a big way. On the other hand, we are dying to be public. Everybody posts things on Instagram and Facebook and other places to show what an awesome time you're having. Everybody is always having a great time, which is not the real world, but that's what happens. So therefore, there is scope in this, in publicizing and in hiding. And somebody mentioned also, I think, cyber security or cyber world. Again, there is a lot of scope for careers out there. Sustainability, you know that the planet is facing so many problems. And there is so much work that can be done. But don't try and solve global warming instantly. Pick a small thing that you can solve that, because that will add to the problems of solving global warming. All these instant solutions that are given about is only possible in a beauty pageant by Miss World or somebody, that from tomorrow I don't want to see any child going hungry to bed and all. In the real thing, it doesn't happen that way. You people have to slog hard and solve small problems. Temporary versus permanent ownership. At one time, people used to spend a lifetime saving, building a house which they will give to their next generation. Today, people are wanting they said that fools build houses and wise people live in them. People are more interested in experiences. They'd rather go on a global cruise, or they may go on an archaeological tour, which is with a good professor. So experiences are becoming more and more valuable. You have seen communication through podcasts, various talks, webinars, seminars are also gathering pace by getting an expert from anywhere in the world to talk to you and show you. I think many of you have been watching things like Discovery Channel. No? Yeah, so you see how much of the world you can see and experience even without going there. And then the next thing that happens, you have the urge to go. So the travel industry will also always be there. That's why you find more and more people want to start airlines, because that's a quick form of communication. And around the airlines come up many careers. Everybody watches cricket and thinks that there should be a Kohli or whatever, a Dhoni or what. But around cricket are many careers, each of which can be extremely successful, including that of data analytics. So these are the 4 things I would like you children to carefully look at and understand what does it really mean. Data is an input, that's all. It is nothing by itself. When you use it meaningfully, it becomes information. Out of that, when you do analysis, you get intelligence. And out of that intelligence, which many of us can get, some get that eureka moment, and that is insight. The ones who get the insight are the ones who will shape the future of this world. And like I said, it can be a small thing and it can be a big thing. So my appeal to all you children is this: go through these 4 processes, see data for what it is, convert it to information, analyze it and get some intelligence out of it. And finally, if you hit that insightful moment, it is what your schools must be teaching you about these 4 C's called creativity. Creativity is not a button you press. Creativity is a culmination of a process that you follow. So therefore, once again coming back to the point that was made, that have you chosen your career paths? My recommendation to you is, if you're sure what you want to do, no problem. But if you haven't chosen your career paths, don't worry, you're still very, very well placed. There's no hurry to choose your final career path. You can keep hopping from career to career, but the building blocks have to be in place, and that is why your education has to be solid and well grounded. You need to be multidimensional in your skills. And if you have the skill sets, I think you'll be well placed to handle futuristic careers. So now I'm going to keep myself open if Tusharji says I have some time left for questions or any comments you have, because what I have said so far is what I know. When you ask me questions or you give me your comments, I will take back something that I will learn. And that's one of the biggest lessons I want to leave with all you students, that learning never ends. And it's never too late to learn, and that curiosity to learn must be inbuilt in you. And you can see I'm a very old man. I'm still standing here before you and wanting to learn from whatever I can take today from your institution. So thank you very much for this opportunity, sir. It's been a delight to be here and speak to your boys. And I do hope there may be some questions and comments. Anyone? Or are you all exhausted now? Yep, I see at least one coming up.
Good morning, sir. I'm Ayush from Kikani CBSE. I had a great time listening to your lecture. So the question I have was, you seem to focus on jobs being a way to give back to the society that's cultivated us, do something better for the country in this sense. And you've also mentioned about the 4 I's, which is input, information, intelligence, and insight. And through insight, you shape the world. My question is, with the advent of knowledge process outsourcing, the people who have the insight to truly change the world, they're being taken away by the first world countries like US and everything. All of the MNCs come in and take the truly valuable people who can shape, who can contribute to era-defining changes in our own country.
Okay. If you remember, at the outset I said a school of the future will be a school with a global outlook. So remember, you are a citizen of Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, India, and the world. And today, anything that happens, when there was a tsunami which also came and hit Tamil Nadu in 2004, it started in Japan, or near Japan. You had nothing to do with it, but it hit you here, and hit you very badly. So today, the pandemic's supposed to start in China, it's hit us all. So whatever happens in any part of the world will impact us in some form or the other. So we can do the reverse. I'm not saying a tsunami is a bad thing, but you can start a small wave which spreads all over. For example, our ancestors and many from seafaring people from this part of the country went to the southeast of Asia, right? Spread. Even today in Singapore, for example, there are many Tamilians or people of Tamil origins who hold very senior positions in society. The Buddhists, there are so many all the way from China, Japan. Where did they get it from? They got it from us. So we don't have to, you see, there's a difference between patriotism and nationalism. Okay, patriotism is a damn good thing. So you can say that, you know, there's a Hindi saying that I'm all over the world, but fir bhi dil hai Hindustani. Okay, that is all right. But you don't have to be foolishly nationalistic, because tomorrow if you emigrate and take US citizenship, shouldn't you be loyal to US? You should be. That's your adopted country. So therefore, if people are taking away our brain drain, today some of the top companies in the world have Indian origin CEOs, and many of them first generation. I mean, they've gone from here. All these Satya Nadella, he studied in Hyderabad Public School in Hyderabad, and this guy studied in Tamil Nadu, Sundar Pichai. All these guys have gone from here. Adobe has got Narayanan. You name them. I mean, the 8-10 good companies, well-recognized companies in the world have Indian CEOs, right? Are they not making an impact, positive impact on society? So my appeal to you, son, is if you find an insight which solves the local problem, if you're a Bangalorean and you can solve this water logging problem, I think you would have impacted society. But you can also solve it by coming up with a vaccine. Like at one time, the polio vaccine came, and now we don't have polio, right? So when Sir Falk did it, he didn't know he's going to impact the whole world, but he's had an influence on society, a positive one. So you look for anything, a small thing, a big thing. I know children who make small apps to solve problems of their immediate family members. I think it's an excellent thing. Okay, so you do anything you like. But again, my humble request to you is, don't think you're too small to impact the world. You impact the world around you, and automatically there'll be ripples which will affect us positively. No problem. Thank you for your question, son.
Good morning, sir. I'm Tia. So what made you to choose army as a career, and what inspired you, sir, to educate children?
Okay. What made me join the army? Accident. What made me join education? Accident. Neither profession I chose. And which is why I'm telling you, if you have the basic skill sets, you can adapt to anything. In my time, we didn't talk about futuristic careers. In our time, we were just happy if you got a job, So, I was studying, as you heard, I was an economics student. I was blessed to get a UGC scholarship. And let me tell you, you children won't understand the value of money of that time. But in the early 70s, the UGC used to pay me 150 rupees a month. Let me tell you, I was a rich man. I'll put this in context. And I was staying at Annapurna Hotel yesterday. At that time, a masala dosa in the cafe outside my college, which is run by a Shetty family, was 50 paisa one dosa. So for 150 rupees, you imagine how many dosas I could eat in a month. Translate that to today's prices. All right. So therefore, I was not heading for the army. But I gave various exams. One of the exams I gave was for the army. They have the UPSC conducts an examination. So I gave that examination. I got through. Then they call you for interview. They call it Services Selection Board. I went for that, got selected. And then I said, look, I already have something in hand. When I finish my master's in economics, God knows what I'll do. Maybe I'll do PhD. Maybe I'll look for some civil services job. Everything was maybe. But this was kind of sure. So I jumped into it. So first accident. Well, it's a different matter that I lasted long enough and I did well there. Second, I was going to retire from the army when some of my friends said, what are you going to do after retirement? I said, retire. That's what retirement is all about. So they said, no. In a few months when you retire, the position in our school where I studied, the same Mayo College, is falling vacant and they're looking for someone to come. So I said, what subject will I teach? I don't know what subject to teach. They said, no, the school is not looking for a teacher in your place. They're looking for someone to provide leadership and direction to the school. And you have spent 40 years in the business of leadership. And of course, it is very kind that our board of management thought along those lines and were kind enough to invite me to come and head the school. So there I am. So both by accident, I know, and I have a fight with my counselor every day. And by the way, we are running a career fair in my school tomorrow and day after. But I always tell my counselor, if you had done my psychometric tests when I was in school, I'm sure they would have never said army and they would have never said education. And I've done both these professions. So the important thing, the important thing for you to understand, children, is this. If you have the skill sets, you can adapt to whatever you are doing. Have you understood? You've got to develop the basic skill sets. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is that all?
Hello, sir. I'm Nagaturun.
Yeah.
At your point of view, what do you think the solution that students not getting proper education due to poverty?
Yes, that's why I mentioned to you about equity. One of our storms that we are facing is opportunity equity. So many of the most brilliant people in this country who have come up, and we also have a scheme for scholarships in our school. And when we take these scholars, and there are some of my vintage also, that time the government had a scholarship scheme, government scholar scheme. Let me tell you, each and every one of them did exceptionally well. So it was only a matter of want of opportunity, right? So therefore, for example, here is a classic case. You're sitting in an institution which started educational institutions. I'm sure in Coimbatore there weren't so many schools at that time. So they created opportunities. In your lives also you can do that. Today you also have the advantage that you can even run a digital school in your time. Okay. You can have a community. I would like all of you to read about a teacher in Maharashtra called Ranjit Disale. Have you heard of him, anybody? Any teachers have heard of Ranjit Disale? There's an annual prize given by the Worki group in the Gulf of $1 million. This guy is a panchayat level teacher and he's refusing to move out from there even now. Okay. One day when he went to some shop, he discovered that there was a QR code. And he found out that in his village, the parents had mobiles, but they couldn't afford the books. Because today everyone has a mobile. So he went around and got all those prescribed government books with a QR code. And the boys had to just come, the parents had to come, put their thing, and it would get recorded. And then they could play it. Then he started other things. He said 7 to 8, it'll be zero TV time in the village, and the villagers agreed. So nobody switches on a TV in his village from 7 to 8. That is family time. As I said, your best development comes with your family. Now you see the thinking of that man. When he won this global prize for $1 million, there were 9 other contestants. He says, half my prize I will share with the other finalists. So about $500,000 he shared, or 45 lakhs he shared, and the balance only he kept for himself. Read about him, he's there on YouTube. You will understand how anybody, anywhere can make a difference. Okay, son? Okay, thank you. And I think I'll have to call it off here. I'm about to be shut out by the social media team. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
If you're allowed, I don't know. I'm not allowed. I can only answer if they give me permission. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Sir, good morning, sir. Last question, sir. Okay, sir. I'm a student. My name is Adarsh, sir. I'm a student of Air Force School. I wanted to ask you that yesterday Swamiji told that modernization is evil, sir. He told development will affect the whole world. Only limited resources are there, sir. But the methods you show can develop India now, sir. So how will it affect the world, sir? So whom should I believe, sir, now?
I will, if I have to answer this question seriously, I need a lot of time. So I'll not answer seriously, I'll answer jokingly. If you want to live this life, you listen to me. If you want to live the future life, listen to Swamiji. There is no difference between what I am saying and Swamiji is saying. Because resources are limited, that is why we need new knowledge. That is why we need new materials. That is why we need new thinking, new processes, different ideas. All right, you must have heard, all of you must have heard about Elon Musk. All of you heard of Elon Musk? Yeah, so he wants to colonize space. He says we don't have enough resources left on Earth. So we can go and colonize space. We are intelligent people. So they are talking about building up a base on the moon. And they are already experimenting with various things. China is saying they'll put up a space station by 2030. So, neither are they limiting themselves geographically, which is a huge thing, but more importantly, you don't have to close your boundaries in terms of your knowledge and understanding, right? So let's say oil is running out, you come up with a different form of energy. If electricity wasn't around, ask your forefathers, there was no electricity. Electricity came. Nobody believed that it can be spread all over the world. It has come all over the world. When When the first phone call was made by Mr. Marconi, he never believed that the whole world will have a phone. When Bill Gates said it's my ambition to put a device on every desktop, nobody believed. It's there today. So please, you got to have some idea and some belief that yes, I can do something and I'll make a difference. But as I said, you can also solve existing problems. You can also solve anticipated and future problems. Do you understand, children? That is important. Both, like I said, today's sewage, you can solve today's problem. Disease, you can solve today's problem. But you can also solve the problem of limiting resources for tomorrow. So I think I'll leave it here.
Sir, last question, sir. Sir, this is sure.
You really want my social media account to be shut down, Mr. Paleniappan? Okay.
Yes. Sir,
Yeah, last please.
Sir, this is sure of studying in grade 9, sir. I want to ask that in which field you are more satisfied, in army field or education field, and why, sir?
Well, I'll tell you a lie if I told you I didn't enjoy being in the army. Because the army was not a profession. Please understand, it was a way of life. Okay? So that was my way of life. I lived it and I had a fantastic time. There, how should I say, my work was invisible. We were working to defend our nation. All right, that is invisible, it's not visible, you can't see it. Today I'm working with young minds and children. And what we are doing with the young minds and children today is already visible, and how it will impact them in the future, I don't know. But we have enough evidence to show, from my own experience, my own teachers and others who followed them, that they made a huge difference in the lives of children. So if you ask me in terms of long-term impact, well, less from the army and more from education, definitely. But both were very satisfying.
So last question. I'm Hemavana from Venkat Lakshmi. So you told to serve.
I wouldn't have answered this question, but I heard Lakshmi. Wow.
So you told to serve.
Everybody loves Lakshmi.
Service the world. But how can we equally service and get profitable from it?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Sorry.
Will service to the society will be profitable or provide economical equality between the people?
Listen, there is no place in the world ever in history where there was economic equality. Please understand that. Nobody ever earns the same amount of money. The communists tried this idea, it failed. So there is no such thing as economic equality. Please understand. But there is equity. That means you give everybody an opportunity. If they mess up the opportunity, if I, instead of doing what I am doing today, would I become an alcoholic and drunken man, I would have been no good to man or beast. I had the opportunity, I threw it away if I would have done that. Seen? But you can earn out of doing goodwill also. There is a famous, how many of you heard of a chap called Jack Ma? Chinese guy. Okay. Jack Ma once famously said, this is maximum amount of money is available to be made at the bottom of a pyramid. Today are the telecom companies whose internet and all you use, Jio and others.
Sir, one last question, sir.
Okay. This has to be the last, my friend.
Yes, sir. Sir, how means, hi sir, I'm Bharat from Sindhi Vidyalaya. Sir, how means you're army person, how you can change the life of all the poor persons in the world out of your about your life?
Yeah, please understand, the army person cannot change the life of everybody in the world. It's not their job, nor it's possible. But what the army does teach you is this. There is a chain of command where you give orders and people follow you, right? There's also a thing called a chain of concern, where you concern for your troops. It's our job, while fulfilling our duty and achieving our objectives, to try and make sure that our troops are safe, come back safely to their families. We don't get them killed unnecessarily. They don't get wounded unnecessarily because we give foolish orders or stupid things. So we need to be well prepared and well trained for that. So you can make an impact, but we can't solve the world's problems. And I'm finding that I'm at a great risk of being asked to solve the world's problems. I want to solve my own first and not miss my flight. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, on that wonderful session about futuristic careers. I now call upon Shri Tushar Kekani, correspondent Kekani Institutions, to kindly present our speaker, Lieutenant General Shri Surendra Kulkarni, sir, with a shawl and a memento as a token of our love and appreciation. Thank you, sir.